Hello, I'm Delissa McEwen. I'm with ALO7, and I am here to interview ALO7's 2020 Teacher of the Year, Charles Park, and he does share this award with one other person, but tonight he's our interviewee. So, hello, Charles.
Hello, Delissa. Thank you for having me here today.
Thank you for letting me interview you. So, what I usually like to do to get started is ask where in the world you are, because ALO7 has tutors all around the world.
So I'm born and raised in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. Yep, very multicultural city.
Absolutely.
Hodgepodge of all these different cultures. Yes.
So is that where you are now?
Yes, that's where I live. I've lived here all my life.
I didn't realize that Toronto had the same time zone. I'm in Philly. So.
Okay. Yeah, so when we were coordinating a meetup time, we were using Beijing time. We should have just used Eastern time for the start.
Exactly. I was just like, oh, it always hurts the daylight savings time. And then when it's like a nighttime to morning transition, I'm like, I've missed meetings that way before. So Toronto, that's a fairly large, is that the largest city in Canada?
I think so.
I think so too. I've only been to Canada.
My geography is horrible.
Once. I was at a ski trip to Quebec as a sophomore in high school.
Okay.
So that was quite fun.
Skiing hills in Quebec, for sure.
Yeah. So anyway, let's see. How long have you been teaching online?
I started teaching online with ALO7. My first class with ALO7 was Boxing Day of 2018. So that's
2018.
Yes, December 26, 2018. I still remember my first class. Yes.
Wow, so that's really impressive. And was that your first time teaching online in general?
Online, yes. For sure.
What about in person?
So in person, it's been a wide variety of experiences. A lot of it came from peer tutoring back in high school when I really liked tutoring French as a second language. So that's kind of where my passion for language learning started, French and math specifically. So that continued throughout my high school years and a good chunk of my university years as well. After I graduated university and joined an engineering firm, I somehow got into the role of training a lot of other staff to perform their engineering functions. So overall, so it's both in an academic setting for high school students, some university students, and in the industry setting. That's the scope of my offline teaching experience, I'd say. It's quite varied over a period of 5
so how did you, are you still, sorry to interrupt, are you still with an engineering firm?
Yes, so that's my day job. And
oh my goodness.
Reconnect with my language learning passions in the morning. I'm not a morning person, but somehow when you like the role enough, you commit to it, right?
That's right. So you are teaching for ALO7 in the morning and then going to your full-time job at the engineering firm.
Yes, I help run the grid in Ontario, so it's
that's impressive.
Lots of circuit diagrams. It's a bit.
Do you have time for a life after that?
I wonder. I mean, it's just the mornings, right? So the evenings are usually when I sit back and try and get into my hobbies, whatever time I have left. And energy. Energy is the currency that's, we have to use sparingly, right?
That's right. But like, clearly, even though you only started in 2018, online, you've translated all of your previous experience into that online platform because you were Teacher of the Year. That's amazing.
I don't know how it happened, but here I am, and I'm.
Well, usually how it happens is that the schools give a lot of feedback on their favorite tutors, and it's usually, I mean, probably someone like John, the Shanghai staff could give us better insight. But what I do know is that it's not just, it's a mix of school feedback and your reliability and probably a little bit of your QC score all rolled into one.
Yeah, so all I know is I'm a very harsh critic on myself, so perhaps
Mm,
more harsh than what others think. I don't know. It just for me, it's always about a continuous improvement mindset and keeping an open
mm-hmm.
mind. And
Yes,
like I don't let my past teaching experiences necessarily define the way I approach a new class. I always want to keep an open mind
right.
to whatever the demands of the clients are and try to adapt to that. So really although I take the role of a teacher, I always find myself to be the student,
I
somehow
think,
trying to be in a teacher's
yeah,
role. Like that's the attitude I always have, and keeping that open mind, maybe that's what others appreciated. I'm not sure, but
I'm
I'm
sure
glad that
that's,
I got this kind of acknowledgement. It was most
yeah,
unexpected.
I bet. So I just think that, like you said, being open and taking the role of, student, not just teacher, like that
Exactly.
definitely is a great way to approach the job. And I really do feel like every, even, within the different curriculum we teach, like every set of students is different, You're going to get
Exactly.
the set of 3 quiet students, and then next you're going to get like the rowdy ones, and then next it's going to be a mix. And then, yeah, so you just have to constantly, like, I think the biggest thing for me is being flexible and being able to pivot in
Yeah.
that 5 minutes between classes and keeping
Yes.
really good notes about our students. That's what, one of the
Yeah.
things I do. So anyway, so much congratulations to you for getting that achievement. That's
Oh, thank you so much. It's an
yeah.
honor to be here.
Yeah. So let me see. I mean, you actually covered some of my other questions because I really feel like probably, your goal of constantly improving and being, because you are very critical of yourself, you're constantly improving. That might be, would you say that's one piece of advice that you would give to new tutors?
Absolutely. I mean, in the beginning, when I first
Mm-hmm.
started online tutoring, yeah, you have to approach it as if you don't know anything, no matter what experience you have.
Right.
And ALO7 gives you all the resources to perform that self-reflection. They record all of your classes. The class recordings are not just for the QC staff to give you a grade. It's for you. It's for you to um, look at the recording, see what teaching
Mm-hmm.
techniques you've applied that worked or maybe didn't work so much. You don't necessarily know how well it worked while you're going through the class. It's only in retrospect you can see whether there are some cringeworthy moments or not,
Yes.
and really applying that critical filter is, especially in the beginning, doing
Mm-hmm.
a lot of that. Uh, that's probably what helped out a lot. Nowadays, I still do it, but maybe not after every class, maybe once a
Right.
week, once every 2 weeks. But I would never, that's always a part of my process. Outside of the teaching hours, you can't ever let that go.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a great piece of advice to watch our videos. And yeah, talk about the cringeworthy moments. That's why I hate to watch them because no
But you have
matter
to,
how good a class goes, I swear there's always at least one moment in there you're like, oh, where you realize maybe, oh, I thought they said this. And that's not when you are able to listen really carefully. You're like, oh no, they said something.
exactly. And encountering those cringeworthy moments, it sometimes feels a bit more offensive than getting a bad QC score. And it's just going through that self-imposed training might have helped. But the
Mm-hmm.
other way I like to think about it is there's that piece of self-reflection. The other piece is uh, looking at the perspective of these parents and
Yes.
students who are, they're paying money to have their children
Mm-hmm.
interact with probably one of the first native English speakers in another country, and there's an obligation to try and make it feel special for them,
Yes.
to make it such that every lesson there's at least one concept that they can take away from
Mm-hmm.
interacting with you. And you have
Yeah.
to be, and so I think other than keeping an open mind and being flexible, that's one extreme. But the other extreme that you have to balance with that, I feel, is tenacity. It's knowing that, so tenacity might mean on certain things you're not compromising, you're a bit inflexible. So the one thing I'm inflexible with is making sure they take away that one concept. So if that one concept is learning to pronounce a certain phoneme correctly, or learning to you apply a certain grammatical structure in a full sentence context correctly, I take the role of being more like a drill sergeant and really try to drill that in. So it's a bit of both. Being open-minded and flexible, it has its good points, but there can be shortcomings if that's all you are. You have to balance that with some rigor and tenacity to make sure the kids take something away. Because if you don't, it's too easy for them to lose focus, and they won't practice. They won't practice enough, and they're not going to get it. So there's a bit of both, I think.
Yeah, I think that you've really touched on the what you need, the balance that you need to be, well, Teacher of the Year. You know?
Apparently so.
All right, so Charles, what's your favorite part of teaching online? And do you have any like memorable moments that you would like to share or something like that?
Absolutely. I think probably my most memorable teaching moment, or experience in general, because I've seen quite a few moments like this, is when I see the transition in my students' mood. Maybe they were feeling dejected at the beginning of the lesson. They've been in school all day and they're tired, and their parents are forcing them into this evening class. So you have to understand their perspective. But at the end of the class, after you try to inject some humor into the class that's in line with the learning objectives of the courseware, you see them visibly more cheery. I think that that transition from the beginning to the end of the class, it means that I was able to connect with the students and make at least a small immediate difference in their life. So that's a really nice way to start off the day. And that definitely wakes me up. I'm not a morning person, but when I can pull that off in the morning, it feels like the rest of the day will be a very good one, right, when that happens.
Yeah, so, I love that. And I really agree with you. You know, that moment, like, you know, seeing that transition, or just even if they started out class in a happy mood, just the moment when they realize that you actually care about something in their life. You know, you remember that they loved Frozen from last week. You know, when they see that and you make that connection, that's priceless. That's gold.
Yes. And with the younger children, they don't have as much of a filter, right? So I still remember it's because it was so unexpected. When we were saying goodbye in our last class of I think it was a 15 or 20 week stretch. I remember the little girl was like, "I love you," while we're saying goodbye. I'm like, "Oh, that's nice." I mean,
it really is.
It's just those little interactions. It all adds up and really makes the overall experience here that much more meaningful. Just as a person, right? No, exactly.
There's so many more benefits than just, you know, it being a job. You know,
exactly.
I love just like the fact that, you know, somebody from across the globe can impact my life too, you know, and I learn things from them as much as I'm trying to teach them, you know, some English. You know, exactly. It's just beautiful, especially, you know, in our climate of politics around the world, not just the US or Canada or anywhere, just the fact that, you know, we're just all humans, and to make that little connection with our students, no matter their age, I love that.
It is a very beautiful concept indeed.
That's right. And I just want to thank you so much for letting me interview you, and congratulations again on your reward. And
thank you. Thank you so much, Melissa.
Thank you, Charles.
We're ALO7, we're singing it out. We're teaching leaders, we're teaching lessons learned.